next matches as they come on by. But Peaches, my co-caster, will be happy to introduce you to the match we have at hand. Artorias v Kratos. Peaches, what are we expecting?
This is actually my first time casting a Dracula set, even in just the OC region in general. Like, I haven't seen this killer picked too often. Even if it is, it's always the tiebreaker set, and we never get to it. A very nice lunge in the wolf form onto Leon here. Goblin doing a great job so far, but a pretty standard build with the Pain Res, Hermetic Clock, Eruption, Corrupt Intervention. Oh, not quite able to path to quite a good enough resource, dying at the edge map. Not the worst death spot to go for, but I don't think they were able to make it to any other resource. So although they had this resource to use at one, I think if they passed correctly, but weren't quite able to do so. So it looks like Goblin will just get their first Pain Res onto their generators. Although we have 2 generators being worked on. Pepsi and Think are doubling up on one, and then he got Cold on a single one. But it doesn't look like they're in any rush to go for the unhook. I think they might be expecting maybe Goblin to stay around the hook and maybe prox camp a bit, and that's why they're just happy to sit in the gens. We get the turn back the clock through the bad forms. That's pretty sick. And oh, look at that, you see both of them running off away from their gens. I think they should have rotated a little bit earlier, because now Goblin, is going to teleport back to main and cut off the savior. And of course, with Dracula in his, well, Dracula form with the Hellfire, he can hit 2 survivors at once. So if Goblin is able to catch out whoever's rotating over to go for the save, it could be quite dangerous. Look at that, you got Cold setting up. Yeah, this is very interesting match so far. I mean, I think and Pepsi will pop their gen for this hook, so a fairly I don't know if it's the best trade. I think a little bit more gen pressure need to be put on the map for Leon going to second, unless Cold can say otherwise. But look at that, just like I was saying, Goblin has his fire ready. We'll see. I don't think he can make this in time. I don't think he can, especially with this being a ping type matchup. I don't think he's going to be able to get this on hook, and they should cut their losses and let him go to second. Yes, that's exactly what we see with Pepsi, Think, and Cold on their generators, but Goblin knows exactly which ones they're working on right now. Going right back over to it, you see the pistons pumping on it. Well, not as high a progress as I was thinking, but you know it's doubled up. You see the scratch marks going 2 different ways, and there is Pepsi using this pretty strong style here, using the chains of light, getting a little bit of hindrance there, but Goblin seeing the unhook will go straight back, because they know, as Chief, you know as well as I do, name the game is make it a 3v1 as soon as possible.
100%. Goblin's already done really well to secure that second stage onto Leanne, but what I find really interesting is that we weren't punished for that very early leave of the hook. We know that Mastermind, the Dark Lord, is a set where the killer is really, really encouraged to stay by that hook and proxy camp, because you really can't unhook in the face of a Dark Lord. It leads to a very quick 2-tap if you do connect that Hellfire onto the unhook survivor to hit that BT, but we didn't see that happen. We saw Goblin stray pretty far away, get Eruption on both of those generators that were being worked, and our survivors didn't really punish that, and I'm a bit disappointed to see that, because if we did see an FTP come out onto Leanne, that's also a very unfortunate vault to take right into the embrace of Goblin, but it does give us Shaq at least, so this chase may still last. The bounds do come on out, and the Dead Hard is met with that, so once again, Leanne will live another day, but now Shaq Pallet out of the way, and back to the tile at 4 we go. We do have a few fillers around here, and Crane towards 3 to play around, so if we are able to last in this chase, the resources will be in our favor. Right now, we just have to win some 50s on this tile, and I think Leanne is getting a bit hasty. Unfortunately, the bound comes on out this time, and Goblin does not miss. No Dead Hard to save us, and that will be Leanne exiting the trial at 3 generators remaining, but no. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't see an FTP come out for that first unhook. As soon as Goblin strayed, you could have very, very quickly sent it for the unhook, gotten the FTP, and allowed Leanne to stealth and not force a tunnel out to occur so early, because like I said, Dark Lord, as soon as you give them the ability to sit on top of that hook, they will. They have no reason to leave, and like you mentioned earlier, Peaches, the gen pressure that we got for that camp out was really insufficient. We were doubling a gen the entire time, and we committed to that double. We could have broken off and started splitting at that very second, even gone for a triple split, completely conceded the fact that Cold was never getting that unhook and just had him sit a gen from the very beginning, and get a lot more gen pressure for this death than what we have. We have 2 gens that have popped, and now we're only able to get a reset for this chase onto Pepsi. Leanne is out of the trial in the 3v1, and it's going to be up to Pepsi now to continue to last in this chase. He's already gotten that stun and that edge map blind, unfortunately taking this tag with the dog bounce, and towards main we now go. Think and Cold will be hopping back on these gens, but I think Pepsi's about to be right on the ground.
unless we can dodge a Hellfire. No, Pepsi is not able to dodge the Hellfire, so this will be a second pain res. And do we have a hill hook around? No, we have the hill here, but no hill hook on. So this is still a fairly good pain res to have right in front of main. But honestly, yeah, Goblin is looking pretty solid right there. We did see that 3rd gen pop in. I think Think was on a pretty high progress 4th generator. I believe they've really been working away at that generator near the shack side. So a lot of progression limits has hit it, really using the turn back clock on this other gen over here, and we get the pull for free, able to sneak around the bats. Think is back on their generator. Now the team just has to buy a little bit of time for them to pop that and get back to a 5th generator, because I think aside from Think's gen, I don't think there's any other gen pressure on the map. So if Goblin can interrupt Think from their generator, this could be dangerous for our survivors. We see some more scratch marks around here. It is the injured Pepsi. So we'll take this chase around the 8-sider here, but it looks like there's no tiles, no pallets to use around the side, so it looks like they're just happy with trying to die edge map. Maybe they can use the resources or the debris around to dodge and loop around, but not quite able to, as we see the down onto them, the second hook onto them, and Think will be able to pop their gen. And Cold actually does have a almost halfway completed generator, but there isn't any 3 gens either. So the survivors, despite their not a whole lot of gen pressure being put for the camp out, they've somehow slowly have really been bringing the gen pressure back. I mean, no 3 gen to be seen, at least not one that's super clear to me. Yeah, no, there's absolutely no 3 gen at all whatsoever. You got the gen behind main and the one here at the hill. I mean, I think the survivors are somehow looking in a pretty good spot. I think the only way that this could really go horribly wrong is if Goblin finds Pepsi, gets the tunnel on them, and turns it to a 2v1. In that case, it could be a 4k1 to 4k0 Chief.
100%, but I think the issue we're going to encounter right now is we don't really have the time to chase Pepsi. If Cold was able to stick this gen for an entirety of another chase and a hook, I do think he would have popped, so Goblin making the heads-up choice to take the chase onto Cold himself and force him away from his generator. But right now, we still do have a few resources around. Obviously, no shack pallet, but shack window is still available to us. We do have this tile at 6 as well to play around, and well, actually, no, we do not have the pallet in here, but still enough distance to make it towards 7. Sincar here, a tag taken towards it, though. Cold will have to do his best to last on this tile with the pallet out of our control. The Dark Lord definitely is in favor. We can pull up Hellfire every single time we go to walk through it, and we did just see exactly that. Now it's up to Cold to be able to dodge this Hellfire. We've done beautifully to be able to get out of the way of the beams of fire, but this pre-vault does come on out. Goblin swings and misses. Cold will barely get away with his life, and the crouch manages to force the break onto the pallet, giving him extra distance around, but once again, we're in a bit of a sticky situation. There's not many resources left for us over here towards 8, so just an edge map death is preferred. Think we'll be back on that gen at 4. I'm pretty sure the Goblin will now pull Cold out of the locker, and that's another pain res, unfortunately. Actually, yeah, sorry, we are doubling. I thought for a second there we might have been splitting gens, had enough progress on another gen to be about 50%, but no, that is a double over at 4, and Goblin might be a bit caught off guard by the amount of progress that still remains on that generator, having applied turn back the clock and eruption to it previously. I think Goblin now is going to have to do his best to find Pepsi. This is a pretty ideal time for him to force that 2v1. Think is going to have to rotate if a chase does occur, and it means that gen will most likely not end up popping for a chase. But we do see Think preemptively sending it towards that unhooked Goblin. Not aware of that just yet, and Pepsi's so close by to get right back on that generator. Goblin's just a bit concerned about this gen at 12, and how funny both of the gens that our survivors would be working are hill gens. Balanced landings, dream situation, but right now for Goblin, he doesn't have to worry about balanced landing. Pepsi will be playing quite safe. He's sitting pretty over towards 4, taking his distance to the bottom side of the map, making sure that if he is to take a chase, he needs it to last. Thinking Cold will reset, but I'm sure after that is done, they are going to look to hop on that gen and get it doubled out of the way for this chase, Peaches.
I believe you're correct. Oh, Pepsi could feel that in the back of his shirt, barely making over the window. Yeah, a lot of those hits probably would have come in, because of course this is a ping matchup. I definitely expected the hit. Of course, we still followed up on near the Sin cars, making our way back over to 6. I don't think there's any other resources to use. Yeah, we just have this matchstick like tile, and I don't think we can make anything else. Maybe force locker. Maybe they can make it to this pallet. No, they will not. So this will be Pepsi leaving the trial at 1 gen remaining. Cold maybe was hoping that they would have backed up into the pallet and maybe get a pallet save, but not quite able to do so. So now we're in a very interesting situation. So the generators are fairly spread apart. but you don't have your balance landing survivor anymore, so you can't use the hill. And a couple of these gens have been regressed quite a bit, so some of these are going to be hitting their regression limits so far. But if Goblin can just catch out one of these survivors, I think would be the best one to go for, as you know, they're the fresh hook, they're the pain res, and you know, they get that regression limit going. But for the side of the survivors, Cold and Think really have to be on top of their comms. Oh, never mind. Here's the survivor that you did not want to be found at the very worst. But here we have Think. I don't think there's any other resources around here. Yeah, this pallet was broken earlier. We have the window to utilize. Maybe they can W key over to 12, but that would be close to the generator that Cold is working on. Think vaults into the arms or the jaws of Goblin, and that will be the down. But Goblin is fine with slugging this for the time being. They're going to see if they can catch out Cold, but Cold stealthing Edgemia. And I don't think Goblin is going to find them, although in wolf form, you know, you can see from the third perspective, maybe he can catch him out, but I think he'll be happy with just looking around, trying to see where he's at, maybe apply the eruption and go back to pick up Think. But Goblin is looking to end this now, keep this a 4K1, doesn't want any chance of it possibly being a 4K0, but never, no. We find Cold over here near the edge map, and now this will be the final chase unless Cold can make something incredibly happen and make it back over to Think. This should be the final chase. Pathing over to this rock pallet filler here. I don't think there's anything else around here. They do have the crane pallet they can possibly use, but I don't think with Goblin breaking it on this side of the pallet, they won't be able to path back over to, ooh, almost got him, followed it up with the wolf, but once again, there's no other resources, so this should be the end of the chase. Yes, it will be. So yeah, very well played by Goblin, but really, I think Goblin should have been punished for his. I keep looking back at the beginning, the beginning of the game, as both of us pointed out. You know, Cold was just sitting there. I mean, waiting for, like, I don't know, what, they weren't on a generator. I think more gen progress should have been made for Leon going to second hook or even going for the tunnel out, and really make Goblin kind of sweat a little bit. Because I mean, if you don't see, at least maybe not, you know, everyone thinks differently, but. If you don't see any survivors, anyone procs can't, like, kind of trying, you don't see anyone coming in, you know, and you're kind of just sitting around the hook, you gotta be thinking in the back of your mind, oh shoot, I have 3 different survivors, possibly on 3 different generators, and I'm here camping this a second. This is gonna be bad for the middle to end game. But no, he did not get punished for it, and now we see the 4K1, which I believe it should have. I think in my opinion, it should have been 4K0 to.
Might have something to say about that. This man has some pedigree when it comes to killers. Bit more mechanically adept. He has proven throughout the entirety of his stay in OSL that he is a force to be reckoned with, previously playing Dark Lord to collect a series of 4K2s throughout Season 5, and he's back on the table once again, attempting to repeat his previous successes. Peaches, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with Oscillator, but Team Kratos in general have proven to be a pretty strong force from the NEA region. I know obviously this is Artorias' pick, and you like to believe that Artorias will be the favorites in that sense, but already we've spotted out 2 survivors. Nagi, our Jake, has been tagged. He does have a fair few strong resources. We have this pallet gem here at 4, and unfortunately, we're going to be able to play quite safely around the short side of the pallet. The swing through does come out there, and that will put us on the ground very quickly. Another quick down to start us off, and not a lot of gen progress for it yet again. If we can look at the HUD very quickly, we see Snoots and Doomby only now starting a double in Goblin, about 25%. Oscillator's put his foot forward so far already, but he does have a tough task ahead of him. What does he need to do to achieve this 4K2?
Well, to start, I mean, well, he got a very, very quick down. That's a great way to start this up. But I think he needs to really put on the early game pressure, really use his pressure, because he doesn't have eruption to apply. But I think he needs to look around a little bit, roam around, just find the active generator that, the target generator that these survivors want, apply the pop, which clearly, you know, he just used a pop right there. That one had fairly good progress, and just kind of use his bats to his advantage. Roam around. What 3gen are we trying to work out? What is our main goal here? And then after we either camp out Nagi or get more of our perks active and ready to go, then we know exactly where to teleport to and where to pressure. So, but this is where we get into the interesting situation once again. We were in this dilemma this previous trial where Goblin was on the Dracula camping this hook, and Cold was the only survivor not on a generator. We had 2 gens being in progress for a little bit, but Cold, I believe, was trying to set up, but at the end did not try to go for the trade, or they weren't sending a gen. So here, now we're seeing, look at this. This is exactly what you and I were talking about in the previous trial. We have the 3-split generator. Hearts on a separate gen, Doomby on a gen, and Goblin on a generator. And as soon as they leave that hook, then one survivor will rotate over, because it is not worth trying to go for the save, especially on ping with the Hellfire, with the possibility of hitting 2 survivors at once through the BT, and it's just not going to be a fun time. So I think this is definitely the pressure that is needed for to keep at least the survivors to popping all the generators. Like, look at that, they're not even going for Nagi right now. They're just happy with popping all of these generators. Look at that, we got the first one, Goblins popping theirs. You see Heartlessness, they got off their gen, so I believe they're going to be rotating over. Doomby's about to pop their gen. I believe Goblin is kind of trying to bait him away from the unhook. Yeah, you look at that. Yeah, Goblin was trying to show himself at Shack, like, hey, you should chase me. Hey, I'm not, you know, yeah, and look at that. They are setting up for the 2-man save because they don't want him to die quite yet. Because, I mean, still the 3v1 with 2 gens remaining could spell disaster. We get that Hellfire off. We get it onto Goblin, and we successfully body block it and be able to get the down onto Hearts. And now we can follow it up with the two, possibly the 2-tap or the tunnel onto Nagi. This is horrible. What was really looking good for the survivors of Artorias is kind of starting to going down a little bit. We have the injury onto Goblin. We were able to get the tunnel onto not get the hit through the pallet. We'll see the tunnel at 2 gens remaining, but once we get this pain res hook onto them, we're gonna fly back to pick up Hearts of Snuts. I don't think we'll make it back in time. No, we will not, but now we will know where exactly 2 other survivors are at once we get out of our bat form. There it is. There's Hearts of Snuts here, and they're not able to make anything else. They're gonna get the wolf dash. Oh, we canceled it to just play it safe, and we get the down onto them and potentially another pain res. But aside from those 3 gens, I don't think there's any other gen pressure on the map here. But that was just, you were saying earlier that Oscillator is very, very well known for his Dracula, and this is my first time seeing him on the Dracula. But oh my gosh, getting that Hellfire and body blocking a little bit there at the left side to get another injury was just beautifully played, Chief.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Oh, that was an interesting interaction there. Doomby nearly vaulting back into the killer. I think that might have been a misinput. I don't know what else that could have possibly been, but regardless, I think Doomby will be eventually taking this tag here over at 12. But no, I think that goes to show. I obviously, I'm not too sure if you would have heard Peaches or anyone in the audience, but I let a very audible sort of noise of confusion when I saw that interaction occur, because I was like, why have we not just held the Hellfire to tap Nagi? We want to hit that BT and then obviously be able to 2-tap him. And even if you do double save, that's still very, very doable. You're never going to trade against this killer. You're always going to take that interaction. The other survivor unhooking will always stand. So you don't need to 2-man. You just need to get the unhook for free. When you try to 2-man, the Dark Lord can do that. And I never really thought about that interaction, about the fact that you can body block one side and then Hellfire the other to force an injure and then a trade on top of that. I had never put that together, but obviously Oscillator, one step ahead of me, and was really successful in being able to get that slug onto Snuts, an injury onto Goblin, and also continue his tunnel out onto Nagi, all in the same interaction. It was masterfully played, and obviously shows his expertise on the Dark Lord. Like I mentioned a bit earlier, he is very comfortable on this killer, and I'm very glad you highlighted it yet again, how adept that made him look, because honestly, it caught me completely off guard. But yeah, for Oscillator now, it's put him in a pretty dominant spot. We went from having the game sort of flipped on our head. The survivors called our bluff of us wanting to camp out that to death, and they worked 3 generators, 3 split, and were able to pop all 3 for that second stage, pretty much. And then, obviously, the very unfortunate interaction at the hook sort of completely turned the game on its head, from being very heavily in the favor of the survivors to now being entirely in Oscillator's control. He doesn't really have too much gen progress to worry about. Obviously, that wasn't a pain res, but he does have pop and turn back the clock. He's going to head over to this gen at deep 6 and be able to interrupt all of its progress. It's sitting at about 50%, but pop goes the weasel. We'll have something to say about that. Rather, turn back the clock, because we can use it inside of bat form, and now Oscillator will be back on the prowl. I believe this is Goblin close by, and if he is able to find him now, it would spell problems. Instead, Snuts, having rotated for that unhook, will pull Doomby off that hook, and if he is exiting the trial, forcing a 2v1 right now, I'm sure Oscillator will be able to secure at least his 4k1 tie, but I know for certain he will be looking to achieve that 4k2. He doesn't want to just tie, he wants to take this set outright. And honestly, after that interaction at the hook, I'm so impressed. I'm still really impressed by it. I think he truly deserves this 4k2 if he's able to close it out now. He's taking this chase onto Doomby. He does need to get this down quickly. The gen is flying, swinging through that pallet. We've smited a man. Ping at its finest. 150 MS to Northeast Asia from OCE, and you can tell Doomby has felt it there. This won't be a pain rinse yet again, but we are so close by to that gen at 6. We can teleport, and I believe it just popped in our face, so that is mighty unfortunate. But that was, in fact, all of our gen progress. The 4K1 will be all but secured as we do enter the 2v1. Oscillator playing it safe, though, is going to check his gen at main, just make sure there's no progress anywhere else. And yep, as we can see, the remaining progress split across the map is all now gone. With Pop goes the Weasel. Snuts rotating quite aggressively, Goblin having to stealth close by at 6, and the fog has consumed us.
Man, I hate when that happens, you know? It's like, oh, my eyes, I can't see. No, but we're able to rotate, get a better view onto Hearts and Goblin for now until that Spectre Bud goes away. But ooh, we see Goblin stealthing around here in the locker. I think Oscillator knows that someone is around here, but we're not quite sure where they're at. But look at that. Hey, this is a good view too. We can use this. Oscillator just happy looking on their hill, trying to look over the top of the generators, maybe seeing where they could rotate. But it's possible to pop this last gen, but like we saw earlier in the previous trial, the comms just have to be on point. And of course, when you're in the bat form, you can still see the scratch marks. You can see the the grass moving, kind of like the spirit. You kind of look around, and it can be incredibly difficult to coordinate. But hey, that's what we're here to see. Just because the previous trial, the side of Kratos wasn't able to get that last gen cooked out, gotten out, it doesn't mean that these guys can. There we go. Oscar finally teleport, realizing that, oh shoot, Oscar was also lost in the fog. So like, oh shoot, I got teleport here. But all right, now we're good. We're back on track. Now we can see what Oscar is thinking in his wolf form, looking around, trying to use his third eye view, trying to see where anyone is at. Now, ooh, we are starting to look around the edge map area, but we're looking around the wrong area. We're going up. Yeah, now we're starting to check lockers. These guys are stealthing out hard. Artorias is not looking to lead this with a tie. They want the win. And yeah, Oscar knows that there has to be a lot of gen pressure. Although these generators aren't as far apart as I was thinking, especially compared to the previous trial. So there won't be as enough time for the survivors to stealth off. So Oscar knows there has to be someone around here. Are they in the locker? Are they stealthing around main? Or did they pre-stealth completely and are in a completely different tile? We are unsure. But Oscar is not taking chances. Just
Go on, give us a look. Where'd he go? That's oh, he's okay. He's long gone. I don't think we're ever finding him at this point, Peaches. I think, yeah, Oscillator's having to concede the fact that looking around main is a bit of a waste of time. In fact, now he's decided to bait it just in case the rotation has come on out. We've cut off the window block as well with Lapis just to make sure if any slow vault was to come out, we would have quickly interrupted that. But the concern is now Goblin will be able to hop back on that gen, get a bit more progress as Snuts does the same here over at 3, and Scratchmarks finally has let somebody be found. Maybe not. Oscillator is checking the wrong direction. I'm sure Snuts is headed towards, yeah, Shack. I was going to say, that's what I thought from those scratch marks, but apparently Oscillator had different ideas. Basement is the preferred location of Snuts, and Oscillator is hot on his heels. We've sniffed him out. Finally, that's a tag, and oh, Peaches, we finally managed to get the game going yet again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought maybe he would have made that vault and prolonged the chase, but with the ping coming into effect and the nice lunge from the wolf, we were able to get the down onto them. But Oscar, I think he was trying to leave and wanted to go and find Goblin, but oh no, I was gonna say maybe he just wanted to go for the pick and just get the game over with. But no, Oscar just wants to make sure that Goblin is not popping the gen, doesn't want to buy them any more time. Yeah, we do see a lot of progress here on this main gen, just using a dry kick onto it, not going to do a whole lot, but somehow we are still in. Chief, you just had to jinx us. We are still in this game. Hearts of Snuts is back on their feet. We do still see the scratch marks roaming around Shack. Where are they at? We see the little scent orb here, kind of giving an idea of where they are at. So I mean, if Heart's going to have some insane chase and Goblin able to get back on that main generator, maybe we'll see the final gen popping. But all we have right now is this TNL to play with, and we get the lunge onto Hearts and Snows. But now Goblin is just happy with sitting this generator. But I believe Hearts is a pain res. So even though, this should be the end of the game now, unless Goblin is able to stealth this out and get the unhook once again. I think Oscillator is going to be happy with just sitting around here, proxy game this area, and just get this game over with and move on to the second set. So we'll see what these survivors can do, Chief. But yeah, the survivors are not willing to give up quite easily, though. I gotta give them that.
Yeah, I would also like to point out that if Snoots does let go on this hook and Goblin gets hatch or escapes through a gate, they would also take the set. They have a lot of things they can play for right now, and surprised Snoots isn't missing skill checks right now, setting Goblin up for that. And maybe now that we did see Goblin get off that gen at 4, he's realized that that is a potential win condition and something they might want to play for, but we'll just have to see. Once again, Oscillator not really knowing what he needs to do right now. He has a lot of things he needs to keep a track of, such as this generator here at 4. He's seen that there's a bit more progress on it. He's going to look around. Goblin might have used it as bait to rotate further towards Shack now, but once again, Snoot's inching closer and closer to death. Goblin could play for a hatch. He could play for a gate. I'm not too sure where his gates are, but he's definitely close by to Shack. He's going to get found out. Oh my word. No, he's not. That was inches from catastrophe for our survivors, but Goblin now set up for this gate at 2. He's not going to play for the hatch. He's going to let Oscillator close it and try to immediately get right on that, but the gates are so close by to Shack. We can see both of them effectively just by standing in the mid-map, so I'm not too sure Goblin's going to be able to succeed in getting out this gate in time. I think a hatch standoff might have been a better option for him, but now we have to gamble. Oscillator will check the gates, and with the mere traversal of the Dark Lord, I do think we're not going to be able to get out in time.
I believe you're right. We see some scratch marks. Oh yeah. Oh, it almost successfully hid behind the bus, but not quite able to get. So yeah, this will be the final chase of this trial, and of course the trial ending in a tie. So yeah, we'll see what Goblin can do for this final chase. See what they can do going into. See what they're leaving behind going into the second set. Blight onto Suffer 1. So yeah, I'm taking this chase around the dumpster filler tile here, going for the dash, not quite able to get the dash onto a very nice sidestep by Goblin, be able to wrap back around to the pilot. We have the Hellfire. Can we hit it? No, we cannot. So the Goblin is making this chase last very, very long. Where was this chase earlier? We needed this earlier to get that final gen done. This is incredibly well played. Dropping the pallet, we'll go for the pallet. Breaking it on the opposite side in our bat form here. We should be able to make it over back to 6 or back over to Shack, and we completely lost our Goblin. What? I'm sorry, what? Goblin. No way. Goblin took advantage of Oscillator going into bat form and stealthed away. And I'm sorry, if Goblin
shot.
No shot.
There's no way.
Chief, don't.
There's no way. Can we get gate cam, Goblin cam right now, Goblin cam right now. No shot. Okay, but surely. Okay, Oscillator is aware. Oh my goodness, that could have been a spectacular play, but Goblin narrowly not getting away with it. Oh my goodness, yeah, that will just be the 4K1 collected by Oscillator, a tie on Dark Lord, but that was so close.
We get the game going. The previous set, the Dark Lord on Record Shop, was a tie. We tied Artorias' pick, so now we are back onto this set, with Blight and Suffer 1, and we'll see what Pepsi can do, see if we can get a point on the board and get the ball rolling. And we know with the first set being tied, we know we are guaranteed Plague on Suffer Bit 1. But yeah, Chief, look at this build. Pretty common build, pretty standard build. We catching out someone pretty early on. Yeah, pretty standard build, pretty standard start to the game so far. And not quite able to get around the tile, and we missed the first M1 onto them, making our way over to main. I don't know if we want to commit this for too long, as main is a very strong resource. Going for the window ball, and oh my gosh, Pepsi shooting hearts through the window, and oh my gosh, we almost cut him off. That was very well played. Not following him through the main, but going around the backside instead and going for the swing again, and not quite able to connect, not quite able to use the ping this time around, but we still follow up with the rushes. And looking at the side of the screen, that chase is pretty fast, and I don't think it bought enough time for any of the survivors to get any sort of gen pressure going, Chief.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. We could also just have a HUD bug because it is Dead by Daylight at the end of the day, and you would really hope that our survivors were able to rotate. That chase wasn't instantaneous. It wasn't a two-tap. We did get to play a few resources, and I'm sure if we had just sprinted down the map, we could have made it to at least a few of these bottom gens. And yeah, we do hear some progress on this bottom mid gen. Part of our 4-gen, I might add. This is going to be very, very beneficial for Pepsi. The 3-gen just on this left side is unbelievable, and the 4-gen, when you consider 5 as well, makes it even better. Pepsi's definitely going to want to play around these bottom side gens, and considering Snuts is our obsession, I wouldn't be too surprised if he does abandon this first hook, let it come out for free, and continue to play around these bottom gens, try to get a death down there and commit to a different tunnel out. But Pepsi right now playing a bit defensive, making sure he can get rid of some of the pallets on this top side, just in case the chasers do return here later on, and more importantly, forcing an earlier or later unhook onto Snuts. The problem that he will be having is that right now we do know that at least 2 survivors are on the bottom side playing for those gens, and Doomby is here on the top side already getting that trade. Instead of taking the trade, though, we are going to hit Snuts' BT, and that will lead to a very quick death. He's going to get shot through that pallet, and concerningly enough, I think if we just go back very quickly, pick Doomby, yeah, that plot twist doesn't mean we're going to get off the ground. Deli will be hit. Deli will be hooked, and I don't think he had enough time to get Deli up. 2 gens have popped. All survivors' locations are known to us. Snuts, it's only, like I said, might be DS if we could just get a very quick flick to that and check that out, because we have decided to slug him still, and yeah, he is. He is our Deli Unbreak survivor, so we're not going to take that pick just yet, but he has no ability to really pick himself up. He does have Unbreak, but Pepsi's just going to sit right on top of him and make sure if he picks himself up, he's going to be right back down on that ground, and all he has to do now is wait out that DS timer, but very intelligently, Snuts is going to crawl to this pallet, be able to pick himself up and potentially drop it, but Pepsi, once again, too aware, will just use these rushes very shortly, I'm sure, or play the M1, considering he does just hit this, and yeah, that's going to be Snuts back on the ground, Unbreak wasted, no DS, I'm sure he's counted it out perfectly. I'd really hope he didn't waste all of that time only to get DS, but no, he has, in fact, gotten the hook. We do see Drown now running in to get that unhook. He's going to definitely be taking a tag for that. Needs to play it very, very careful. And yeah, that's going to be a forced trade. But no, actually, Drown does get it for free. Doomby will be off that hook. 3 survivors on their feet, but 2 injured, 1 on the hook. And things are definitely looking a bit problematic. Right now, Goblin will have to be sitting a gen safely because we need some progress. A 4K3 would not be ideal. Snuts, our killer player who's currently on hook, would need to do something magical in the reverse fixture to match this. And right now, the situation is getting worse and worse. We're going to hit Snuts' BT yet again. Goblin is going to do his best to protect his friend, but the rushes do coming out. We go right on by. The swing narrowly misses as the extra haste does buy us a distance. We need to make this pallet. Snuts will have to do his best to last. Back on this pallet that he was down on a few seconds ago, we see Drown on the ground being picked up by Goblin. Doomby has reset himself with his medkit, and 50s must now be played. We're trying to force the vault. The slow vault is not something you can do on the short side of this filler, my friend. Snuts unfortunately loses that interaction, will put himself on the ground. We tried to turn back this gen, but it ran out just in our face, so that means Snuts will instead just be exiting the trial, and that gen at 2 will not be regressing just yet. But a death at 3, very, very strong for Pepsi, considering the state of the game around him. We do see that Drown is on that gen bottom mid. I don't know why. Oh, because Snuts still has DS, right? I didn't even consider that myself. I thought we were just going to pick him and have it over with. But DS is about to run out. I'm sure, once again, Pepsi has counted that out. And our survivors are a bit flustered. That tag onto Doomby was not ideal. And we know that Goblin is close by. We can finally have Snuts exiting the trial. No DS left to save him. And the 3v1 at 3 gens is ideal for us. At gen mid 8, though, Peaches does have a fair bit of progress, and we do know that Goblin, one of our healthy survivors, is still nearby.
Still nearby indeed, and oh, there they are. Just say his name and he shall appear. Here's Goblin, the only healthy survivor. Now everyone injured across the board. I believe Doomby and Drown. I saw the little reset, or the healing meter on the left side, so they're looking like they're trying to reset in this 3v1, which they definitely will need to do, as a lot of the top side resources have been used up. But I think Pepsi with this rush should be able to get the hit onto Goblin. Yes, they do connect, and you do see the reset onto Doomby, so Pepsi, I think, should be happy with just taking this pick. They know that not enough the gens aren't being worked right now. Yes, you do see the double resets. Yeah, there shouldn't be a whole lot of gen pressure on the map. That's not. Yeah, no, yeah, no. There shouldn't be anything else. So we're happy with hooking this, getting our pop, getting our turn back the clock, and rushing back down the map. See, apply the pop and apply the eruption, or maybe just to turn back the clock and make our way back, and maybe see if we can cut off the savior. But yeah, this is a really good spot for Pepsi to be in, because I think we still have our top side 3-gen, and this gen over here at the bottom, I don't think we should care too much about. But Pepsi, I think we know that the reset had to be far away from the hook, so we can probably sit around that choke point area and see and wait for people to make their moves. But Pepsi is not going to wait. We want to take the fight to them. We're making a rush all the way down back toward Shaq and taking the chase on to Doomby. I don't know if I agree with taking this chase here, because not a lot of resources have been used around this bomb side area. So unless Pepsi can make a lot of taps happen, which it does start with a nice M1, and he does have his rushes back, so he could potentially turn this into a 2-tap bouncing off of the tree, and kind of lost him a little bit in the sauce, but found him once again, and we get the down onto Doomby, so we'll be able to hook him around the bomb side area. But that does leave the top side open to be being worked on, because yeah, you do have that gen at made, you had the gen at 2 that you pointed out earlier, we had the one at 10. So it's a wide 3-gen, but I think it's something that Pepsi can hold. So that's why it was a little interesting that Pepsi decided to go toward the bomb side, but it worked out in his favor. He was able to get a fairly fast down, and he has his pop eruption and turn back the clock back. And it doesn't look like they're going for the reset either, so I think they are trying to stealth around, just trying to bully out these generators, because at this point in time in the trial, Chief, I think 4K2 is what we're going to get, especially now that we've caught out the Savior. Drown trying to go for the unhook. He will get it successfully, but not without. Oh, Pepsi went just a little too far. Not quite able to get the tag onto Drown, but was able to follow it up onto Doomby. A second tunnel would be huge for him. Turn this to a 2v1. It would be very disastrous for the survivors, and I don't think they'd be able to pop another gen in the 2v1. So Pepsi trying to play some mind games here around the 4 lane, but not quite able to check spot correctly. We get the down onto Doomby. Drown, I believe, was trying to come in to go for take a body block, but not quite able to get there. So now this will be Doomby leaving the trial at 2 gens remaining. We know where Drown is there toward the bottom. Where is Goblin? Goblin has to be working that 2-gener. That was the one that had a lot of progress earlier. Also, 10 did have a little bit of progress as well. So yeah, Pepsi's going to take a quick peek around that area. But I think he is looking. No, he was looking in the right direction. Yeah, Goblin was here at 10. So if he would have caught him out, that would have been the game over right then and there. So there is still a chance, especially with that bottom gen and main being so far apart. Another gen could pop, but with how on top of his game Pepsi has been this trial, I still don't foresee that happening, Chief.
No, I mean, look, Pepsi would need to make a serious blunder for them to be able to pop a gen in this 2v1. The progress is there, though, for our survivors, although Goblin now in chase injured already. Things are going to be a bit problematic for 4 biting us in the butt there. Pepsi unable to get that swing through the pallet. Goblin will live on this almond tile, but against the Blight, not a safe tile at all. We see the rushes coming out and quickly put Goblin on the ground. Drown is also just right next to the chase, so this will be the end of our Blight set. A 4K2 collected by Pepsi, and a very good result, all things considered. I don't think Drown's really going to be able to do too much. He does have this hill at 5 and a pallet at 4. I don't think Pepsi's going to give him back the map and let him pick a Goblin right back up. So this should just be a very quick down. But the rushes are unable to connect on this filler at 4. This filler is surprisingly quite safe against Blight, because rushing around it, unless you're rushing the opposite direction to what Pepsi is doing right now, can be quite difficult. And these are the rushes I was talking about. Unfortunately, Pepsi unable to connect with them. Bumps, unfortunately, on the side of that filler, and he does end up giving Drown access to his mid-map. We do have a fair few tiles still left up here. The slow vote comes on out, beautifully timed, and buys him some safety, and to 3 we go. An almond filler and swing through that pallet. Drown will narrowly evade a tag once more, and the mid-map is still so strong. That vault was, wow, I was expecting a tag to come through for that. I think if Pepsi had swung just a bit earlier, it would have occurred, but no, once again, Drown is just playing masterfully in this chase. Definitely what we needed in the mid-game, not at the very end of the game, completely inconsequentially. The swing around the pallet comes on out, but Drown will read into that perfectly and make it back to the mid-map. This is, once again, incredible chase. We win the 50 yet again. Unfortunately, the Jiggy does come not out, and Goblin will have crawled to be used as a filler pallet himself and ended up back on the ground. And right now, Drown is just continuing to last in this chase. Another fast vault that doesn't connect because, unfortunately, Blight MS swings is full podcast, and Drown finally ending his chase, and that is a beautiful way to end off our game.
Very beautifully said. That was a really, really good chase, but man, that chase just needed to happen earlier. I mean, I think they should have sent Drown in instead of some of the other survivors. I don't think they did anything horribly wrong, but I mean, with that chase that they had, I mean, that could have easily popped multiple generators with more survivors in the trial. So yeah, 4K2, an incredible result. I think it is slightly above the average. I think most of the time we see 4K1s to 4K0. So Pepsi getting that 4K2 is incredible to put the work in for that. And we do see one change of perk here. We have Wretched Fate instead of Turn Back the Clock. Gee, to start this matchup while we get underway and find our first survivor, what do you think of putting on Wretched Fate instead of Turn Back the Clock? Do you think it's going to get the value that is expected?
Yeah, look, I think Wretched Fate on an S tier killer is actually a really, really good pick. Probably one of the best picks you can possibly take because you're really disincentivized to chase your obsession. You don't want to chase DS. Shock. It's, you know, exactly kind of the name of the game. You want to force chase onto DS. He's the guy that's got the second chance, and you don't want to do that on the killer end. So making him work gen 33% slower just for existing is exactly a positive. There's no downside for you at the end of the day. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic perk for you to have in your arsenal, and although you do sacrifice something like Turn Back the Clock, which is on-the-spot regression, that passive slowdown can be even stronger in a lot of situations. But speaking of situations that are quite strong, this setup for Cold, we have Shack window into this God filler, and the filler will now be broken back to the window. We go over to 7 now, maybe venturing to 8. We have another filler here, I'm sure. Yeah, already pre-dropped. It's quite a strong filler, but the Blight Rushes may change my mind on that. Cold unable to win the 50, and that does put him on the ground, and that's a very good chase. We did see rotation from Think and Leon get us to the top side, and they're splitting gens 2 and 10, and it's a very, very highly progressed for a good chase, and Pepsi already stealthed preemptively for this unhook right on top of the hook in basement himself. Snuts none the wiser as he goes to venture around and look at his generators. A bit of lag as we do see him sort of rubber banding, but his 4-gen on the bottom side will be in his best interest to protect, although our survivors aren't going to mind too much. Popping 4 generators is all they need to achieve, and with Leanne and Think on the top side, 2 of those will be happening quite shortly. Snuts cannot afford to let this happen, so away from his 4-gen and the hook, he goes all the way to 2. He's going to kick this gen. I'm sure the unhook will come on out, and Snuts goes right on back. Needs a very quick tunnel out, and wow, he's really having an unfortunate time with these rushes. I don't know what's going on, but I guess he is experiencing the rubber banding himself, and yeah, unable to traverse safely, and that does spell some problems. I think he has caught out Cold, though. We do see Pepsi here as well, trying to protect the present. I love Pepsi's Atom Fit. I've always loved Pepsi's Atom Fit. It's just a spectacle and a half, and he's going to be able to very, very cleanly protect Cold, take a tag for him in the mid-map. That does give him access to 5. We do have a Blight Bug because of the ping, and we now see that the Godfiller at 5 will be our destination, even though the Blight isn't okay, there we go, it's fixed. That was this killer, man, oh my goodness. But Snuts using those rushes will break this filler at 5, and back to Shack we go. Cold doing his best to last. 2 gens have popped. Think and Leanne are starting 2 other generators. We're gonna balance landing off of basement. Pepsi has reset himself and is pestering the chase yet again. He narrowly avoids taking a tag there because Blight's a slow. Chungus 4-4, and now once again we are a pallet for our friend, taking a second tag. Cold will last some more. I've never seen a men play like this, and Think is now coming in to do the same. Look at this. Oh my word. Altruism in the Blight set doesn't normally pay off. It can be quite detrimental, and especially considering the fact that the Blight can just rush right on past you when you are trying to take these hits. We see Leanne also running in from main. This is incredible. I'm thoroughly enjoying this gameplay, considering the fact that you don't need to do this. They could have just sat gens for this chase, and it would have been more than ideal. Instead, we've taken 3 injuries to let Cold last. We're not playing for our 4K1 win con. We're playing for as low stages as possible. Cold will be on the floor now. We did lose a fair bit of gen progress just for that interaction, but boy oh boy did it get him exactly where he needed to be. We are outside of that 4-gen. We've made it all the way to main, and Think has now been reset. I'm sure Pepsi will be shortly reset as well. Leanne on the top side does need to play a little careful. His gen at main's about 50%. He's not going to be able to work it for a while, so very interesting turn of events. But Peaches, all things considered, I think it has worked out quite well for Kratos.
Yeah. it wasn't even, Cold wasn't even on Death Hook yet either. That's the other fun thing. Like they were playing for his life. Like normally we see a lot of those plays. Like you're only on your first hook. That's fine. Use your haste, use your resources, just make yourself go up the map. And we'll just hit gens. But no, they wanted him to get as far away from that bottom side gen spread as possible, and they really did exactly that. And we get the people in time, so we still get the tag onto Cold, but at least he doesn't have the holy crap, I am getting tongue twisted. I'm sorry, this match has actually been fantastic to watch. Yeah, we got the reset onto Pepsi, and maybe we'll see him come in for the body block as well. We get the pallet, we go for the break instead, and able to make it over to 2, but this chase is still lasting a bit longer than necessary, because this is the win con right now. Artorias cannot allow any more generators to pop, although they can allow one for the tie if that's what they want to go for, but breaking another pallet, getting rid of some of those rush tokens, it looks like we will just walk them down, as there's no other resources around it. No, not quite able to make it around the boxes, and now able to path back toward main. Cold can make main extremely deadly, make it over to the pallet behind main. Oh my gosh, we hit the same tile 3 times with the rushes, and that once again buys Cold enough time to make it over to 11. This rock pallet filler here, which is pretty strong against the blade, but now looks like we are finally zoning Cold to the corner here, although the pathing is telling me otherwise, that he is not done with his chase yet. We're trying to walk him down, but this pathing is kind of insane, and we do make it over to the corner. But with that chase, 2 gens have popped, and we're down to 4K1. With that being said, that is the set win for Kratos. But what Cold put, the teamwork, the singular chase we just saw from Cold right there at the end, was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Hearts had a fairly good start at the beginning, and just slowly over time, just kind of the pressure was being let go and in favor of Kratos, and Kratos capitalized on his mistakes, and we now have what we have now. I mean, and look at this gen spread too. There's no 3 gen to be held, so even if we want to at least go for the 4K1, I don't think we're going to be able to see that, especially with how these survivors are going today. They are absolutely out of their mind, Chief.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know that we're very far away from the end of season already, but that's definitely going to be one of those contenders for Survivor performance of the season already. Me and Hunter will definitely have to take a look back to week 2 and think about this one, because Kratos have played exceptionally well as a team throughout the entirety of this set. That second chase, I'm still thinking about it, and obviously that third chase from Cold was magical as well. Now Think putting on a bit of a show himself, able to avoid these rushes and taking an M1 tag now, and will take the distance towards main, hopefully able to play towards some of those windows. But no, over to 10. Hopefully we do have another few fillers. I'm not too sure if this is a pallet still available. It is, in fact, and Slutz's rushes will not connect around it. That does give us access back to main, although with no pallet here on the side, only the window to play. The medium vault comes on out, a delayed swing does not connect. Think will have the rest of main to play around, and with the rushes coming on out now, I think will not be able to avoid the down. That will be him taking his down, and all generators popping for it. Our 4th hook stage for all generators. An incredible performance so far, and I'm sure Pepsi and Leon, considering how altruistic they've wanted to play so far, will try to play for this unhook. But what might be to their detriment, Peaches, that I've just noted, is the gates are right here. You can see both of them. We have Seabass gates from the hook, and Leanne is doing his best to bait. He's going to take a tag for that unless Nuts is able to... Wow. Yep, words are occurring. Leanne was not taking a tag. The blind came just on out. Peaches. That was funny. I meant to say Snuts. I didn't mean to say Peaches, but I said Peaches. I didn't know how to recover. So anyways, Snuts is playing for this tag, and Peaches, you're going to tell us how this chase is... Oh, this chase is going to last. You know what? You say something.
You're all good. Sorry, no, I absolutely understand. This game has been phenomenal to watch. Hey, and just so you know, I am actually playing casting at the same time. You didn't notice me while I was going quiet from time to time? No, I am absolutely lying. I am not actually playing. I'm full casting. So yes, I'll cast the rest of this game out into the tiebreaker. So we do see Leon get picked back up off the ground. Think trying to play around this 10 rocket pallet failure here, but going for the Russian side, I think he could have gone for the M1 on there, but wanted to go for the safety rush instead, and we do eventually get the down onto them. But Hearts is not satisfied with picking them up and going for those stages. We want more blood. We're rushing back over towards 3, seeing if we can interrupt the gate. We do interrupt it. It does have 2 lights on it, but we don't have eyes on any other survival. Nope, forget what I said. We have ears though. Hearts has ears, and we heard the injured Leon behind the Z-wall was able to get the down onto them. But once again, Hearts does not want this just to end with high stages. He wants the 4K0. He wants to get a good result going into the 3rd set Plague on Supple Pit 1. So we'll get the M1 onto Pepsi. We should be able to follow it up with the rushes here, unless we are able to use the debris, use the stuff around us to keep it going. But we are able to pick up our 3rd survivor once again, and we do hear the door being opened. We might just go for the pick onto Leon and at least secure the fresh. And yes, we do see Pepsi and Think going out the door. I don't think they would have reset to go for the save. No, we do not see that happening. So what is this? 3-6. We get a 3 fresh 7 stage result to 4K.
Does depend if the Plague match isn't a 30-minute slugfest, which, as we all know, Plague definitely can be. We love a slow 45-minute Plague game that ends by the server timing out, and Goblin definitely has the setup for it. I can already see a nice 4-gen on the bottom side. Actually, more of a 3-1-3 split with this mid-gen, but of course, he's going to set up quite nicely. I'm not too sure what add-ons he has. I've only spotted out 1 pool, so I don't think it's double apple. If we could get a quick check on that. We do have Amulet. Yes, Amulet, apple. I think we had the worst apple. I don't want to speak too soon. I didn't get a good enough look, but unfortunately for Goblin, he does not have a pool in his 4-gen, I believe, and that's going to spell some problems later on in the match. But an Infect onto Leanne and an early Injure is exactly what we need to get our Thana going, and now able to bounce right on over to Think. He's going to have to do his damnedest to avoid getting injured himself. That's already a 2% slowdown. 4% is still not the worst, but a tag does assist us here, and once again, getting Thana rolling is exactly the objective of a Plague early on in the match, and making sure everybody will remain infected. We do actually have a pool inside of our 4-gen, and that's exactly what you need, but right now, concerningly for Goblin, is the fact that a rotation to the bottom side has occurred from 2 of our survivors, and they are completely healthy. They're going to be able to sit here freely and wait out the infects on these generators. Actually, Leanne is one of the survivors that has rotated down to the bottom side. He needs to play very, very careful. He's head on. I want to point out how interesting of a choice this is, Peaches, very quickly before I give you an opportunity to talk. I'm sorry. Head on previously used to interrupt Plague's red vomit. It was an unintended feature. It was not meant to occur, but I thought it was really cool. And unfortunately now, that doesn't happen anymore. You can no longer use head-on to stop a Plague's red vomit, or at least I don't think so, because I believe that they said, them being behavior, that they did fix that interaction, which is pretty unfortunate. I would love to see that remain as a thing. I think it's quite interesting, but speaking of things that are quite interesting, Cold, able to avoid that tag quite narrowly and get away without an infection or an injury, but Goblin will head back on over to his gens, get his infections reapplied, and try to get Pepsi or Cold sick once they rotate back for those generators. But now that Cold is doubling, he is sick himself. Think and Leanne are on gens, playing quite aggressively for those sick gens and trying to interrupt as much as possible. Goblin playing quite slow, very typical Plague start, but I would like him to potentially try and pressure his bottom side gens. We know Pepsi has to be somewhere, and now that Corrupt is over, truly it could be anywhere, but at the end of the day, I do think it's most expected that you would try to tackle those bottom side gens first, especially with all the RNG they do have around. It would be in the survivor's benefit.
Absolutely. So it looks like we're going to take this chase around main onto the not the best place for Plague to take the chase, especially without the power, but it looks like we're not going to pick up the power quite yet, because oh yeah, like you pointed out, the only pool blood we have is over toward 11, away from the gens. But we see the first gen pop. Pepsi has a halfway completed gen. Leon is still just abusing main to its full potential and really making this chase last, and Gammon is realizing that. Is like, yeah, no, what the heck am I doing here? I'm an M1 killer running around with no red Vomit, I can't do anything with this. This is just a waste of time. So we're going to leave that chase, apply more eruption, get a little bit more pressure around the bottom side. Is like you pointed out, I think the bottom side is where he should set up home. We do catch out, think though, over here at this Ormond Lake tile, but we're just holding W over to a stronger pallet and trying to go for the stun, not quite able to connect. And now we might try to path the way back toward the bomb. Pepsi's about to pop the second generator, but I think, yeah, that gen is, oh my gosh, there's so much gen progress on that generator in the middle there. We do see I guess the four generator pop. We see, wait, I think that was the fresh survivor. Was that Pepsi on the gen? Yeah, that was Pepsi over there. We might want to go back over to Pepsi and apply the infection on them, or at least get the M1 to get the full stacks to Nanophobia, but maybe he hasn't caught him out. I mean, I saw him on my screen, but maybe he didn't see him on his. So looks like we are just gonna be happy with taking this chase into Shack. But once again, it's a very strong tile to use to get the pallet stun, just like it was in main. I don't know if we should be keeping this chase for too long, because now Pepsi is about to pop the third generator, and we have nothing to show for Goblin's work. I mean, clearly Goblin is spreading the infections, spreading the eruption. We do find Pepsi, so this could be the fourth stack of Thanatophobia, but there's just nothing to show for it. This is like the survivors of Kratos are really just putting on a click and really showing the patience that is needed, but also the chase potential that I mean, it's just, the survivors are just, oh my gosh, there's a fourth generator. I'm sorry, I thought there was, after the third gen popping, there was gonna be nothing else. Yeah, the 4 gens pops. We do finally get the infection onto Pepsi, but I don't think it's gonna matter at this point. I mean, we get the infection on him and he's not injured quite yet, but we're about to pop the fifth and final gen. Look at that gen progress here, Chief. This is insane. The survivors of Kratos are on fire. Eventually, Goblin's we're in triage. We're in triage mode now. There's no way we're gonna be able to keep this gen spread alive. There's not possible at this point. We just need to get something on the board, get something going, go for the fresh stages, maybe at least get the pain reses going to get even, like, I guess go to the mid-high stage game. But with the way that these survivors are playing, I mean, there's a potential that we might even see 0 to like maybe 1 or 2 stages here, Chief. This is actually insane.
Yeah, look, I wanna highlight the fact that Artorias are a relatively new team. They have played exceptionally well tonight, and they have done so throughout the entirety of Season 6. Even last week, they played it very, very well, but their inexperience is kind of showing right now. Goblin is way too focused on the macro side of his Plague match and hasn't really taken the time to just lock in on the micro and get some tags and downs. He needs to accept the fact that Plague, although it is a very intensive macro set where you do need to play around your gens and play very, very slow and try to stall out the game as long as possible and deplete your resources to be able to get things going, you kind of do still need to get downs. It is the objective of the game as the killer, and getting your first down as all gens popped is not ideal. It's going to be potentially only 3 stages. We have a single pool of blood on the top side, so we can hook right on top of that, secure those stages for a guarantee of 3, and I think we're going to do exactly that. So Pepsi, Think, Leanne, our remaining survivors, should just be exiting the trial now, and we do see them cleansing. They're going to try and play for it, but they are unaware of the fact that a pool is right next to the hook, I think, right now. Don't know why Cold hasn't mentioned it just yet, considering, yeah, they're definitely not getting this on hook. At least in a timely manner. They can play for it before he does die, but no, the communications of that the location of that vomit has occurred, I'm sure, and that will see our survivors exiting the trial now. 3 stages.